Cooking New Ulm. I'm Rebecca Fliszar, the dietitian with the Heart's Beat Back, Heart of New Ulm project, working to reduce and eventually eliminate heart attacks in the 56073 zip code. Well, tonight we're going to take a new version on salmon. So we've made a lot of salmon on the show, but everybody has asked, well, what else can I do? How can I zing this up a little bit? So what we're going to be doing is using a nice pineapple marinade. Now, all this marinade is we had a little bit of pineapple juice and a little bit of lemon juice. And I poured that in this bowl with about a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 parts of pineapple juice and 1 part of lemon juice, and I've let this sit for about an hour. That's all it really took. So we put that in the fridge, let that marinate, and I'm going to go ahead and spray a baking pan. We're going to make a nice Caribbean salmon tonight. So get that baking spray on there. I'm going to place this on the baking sheet. We're going to have a nice little rub on this. It's going to add a distinct flavor. Now that lemon juice and that pineapple juice has been absorbed into the salmon, so while that's baking, we're going to get a nice sweet flavor along with the salmon. Now if you don't like the great fish taste of salmon, this is going to really mask that. It's going to have a much different flavor and something you really might enjoy. Remember, our salmon is high in omega-3 fatty acids, and that's going to help lower our overall cholesterol level. It's going to help keep things moving, and it's really one of our best fish that you can have. So with our marinade, we're going to take a little bit of brown sugar. Again, this is going to add to the sweetness. Then we're going to add just a couple of tablespoons here. Oftentimes I'm asked, well, is sugar really good for us? You know, in the limited quantities that we're going to be having it with this rub and spread over the several portions, I'm just going to just add a little bit of taste, and it's really not going to be harmful. We're going to add a little bit of cumin in this. I'm going to add the chili powder, and I'm going to go ahead and use quite a bit of it just because it is going to bake off this the zing of the chili powder a fair bit. I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon as well. Remember, cinnamon is great for our heart health, so add as much of that as your palate would allow. And then I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice to that. You can use lemon rind if you chose. If you want to buy a fresh lemon and use a little bit of lemon rind, it's going to have a little stronger flavor for you, but I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of lemon juice. I'll mix that up. And this is actually going to be the rub that we're going to put right on top of our piece of salmon. Now notice I did not start with any salt or pepper. I believe that with this rub and the juices from the pineapple and the lemon, we're going to have plenty of flavor. We want to reduce that overall sodium intake, and so by leaving the salt shaker on the table or in your cupboard, we're going to see that our overall sodium intake is going to go down fairly quickly. All right, so we want to get this spread all over this piece. This is about a 12-ounce piece of salmon. Salmon is farm-raised and available in your grocers year-round. If you're looking for your best salmon, you're going to watch for your sockeye salmon, which is available only at very specific times throughout the year, so you might want to talk to your butcher about that. All right, once we have that done, all we really have to do now is throw this in the oven for about 12 minutes, and it's going to be ready to go. So I'm going to put this in the oven. We're going to make a nice vegetable stir-fry while we wait. We'll just slip this in the oven. We're going to give it about 12 minutes, and if it flakes apart with a fork, then we know that it's ready to go. So we're going to move back to the, we'll dice up our vegetables, then we're going to be moving back to the stove. We're going to have a very easy recipe while we wait. We're going to just use some fresh mushrooms. We have some carrots. Now I've already bought the chipped, so these are going to be easy for me to dice up. And we're going to use some green onion. 3 of these together with a little bit of lemon juice are going to have a great flavor, easy to make, and it's going to be perfect timing. It's going to take just about as much time to make our stir fry as it is for our salmon to finish cooking. So I'm going to cut these up. And you can cut these to any size you'd like. There's really nothing too specific because they're already chipped. They're nice and thin. Cut a few more of these up. We'll have the mushrooms. And then we're going to use the green onion. I do like the flavor of the green onion a little bit better than the other onions in this recipe. You're not going to have the stringy texture. Get rid of the ends here. Remember that you can use a green onion, or a scallion is the other name for these. You can use those up quite a ways. The best way to know where you're going to lose your freshness is where they're going to bend. That's where you want to stop cutting. So we did our little test. We can cut quite a ways up on these. right? So that white part is going to have the strongest flavor. We'll cut up a ways here yet and make the best use of our vegetables and cut down on our plate waste. And that's what we're going to be using for our stir fry. So I'm going to go ahead and check in with Holly for Fit in 5 while we move back to the stove.
Welcome to Fit in 5. Today we have with us Gerald, Jerry, and Tasha, and they're from the Brown County Humane Society. And they're here to talk to us today about how pets can help keep us heart healthy. You know, being heart healthy doesn't just incorporate the mind, but the body, but it also incorporates the mind. And pets are a great benefit to heart health. Welcome. Thank you all for being here today. Gerald, tell us a little bit about the health benefits of having a dog in the home.
Well, there's quite a few benefits. First of all, as far as walking a dog, one of the real benefits is that you're not just walking the dog, you're also walking yourself. And that makes a big difference in people's lives. We have found that some folks just don't have the motivation to get out and walk. I have a friend that had some heart issues, and he was told by his doctor that he needed to get out and walk and exercise, and he really wasn't doing that. He got a dog, and now he's very thankful because he goes out every day and walks the dog. But dogs just bring a lot of benefit, and in fact pet ownership brings a lot of just psychological benefit. I know that when I walk dogs for the Humane Society and we walk along the bike path, you very often run into people, and they're always interested in the dog. They think it's a cute little animal, and so it starts up a conversation. And that really helps, you know, as far as social connections and so on. There's also been a number of studies that have shown that especially people who live alone and elderly, like for example, I'm just a year away from from getting Medicare myself, so I'm probably in that category, that having a dog can reduce the stress level. Their unconditional love. If you come home and there they are, you're not coming home to an empty house, you're coming home to a live animal that's happy to see you. And it just, you know, it just helps your frame of mind, adds to your self-esteem. And I know there's been some studies that show that owning a pet can actually reduce cholesterol, and stroking a pet and petting it.
Absolutely. Great stress reducers. You're definitely not going to miss your walk, or your dog is probably not going to let you miss your walk. In some instances, you know, they really want to get out there. So, Jerry, now, I think most of us think when we walk a dog that it's just this simple task of putting on a leash and heading on out. At least I know that's what I thought. And then what happened in my case is the dog wound up walking me more than I wound up walking the dog. So they do actually need to learn to walk on a leash, correct?
That is true. And actually you need to start well in advance of the time that you actually pull the leash out. Most dogs are like me, they will work for food, and so it's helpful to go ahead and start shaping the dog's behavior with teaching him basic commands, and so that he will come, sit, down position, and then at that point you're probably ready to start taking him outside. And keep in mind that probably the high point of his day is going to be getting on the end of the leash and going for a walk with you. Consequently, he's going to be a little bit excited, especially he sees the leash come out. He knows the good stuff is coming. And so I found it helpful to move away from the door and put on my authoritative voice and get in control of his behavior. Have him sit, and then go ahead and put the leash on. At the shelter, we use a head harness for most of the dogs. Many of them that come in have been strays and are unfamiliar with, you know, just haven't been taught proper leash behavior. And so we use what's called a gentle leader. Another brand is the Halti. They're available through pet stores. I know the local farm supply store out here has them, veterinarians' offices, and it's really simple to use. Just put the dog's nose through, come with the straps up behind, and buckle it behind the ears, and attach the leash to the end of the loop, and you're good to go. If a dog does pull, the leash the harness is going to pull his head down and to the side. They don't like that, so they stop pulling. That means that both you and the animal can have a leisurely stroll.
So if I have a dog that I've tried to walk repeatedly on just a regular leash and collar, that one might be a really good thing to start using if they just aren't getting the idea of not pulling me along.
Absolutely, and this is also served in the stead of a chain link collar, because those really are choker collars, and this is a humane way to maintain control of the animal and to, as I say, enjoy a stroll together.
So what do you do if I'm going to take my dog out and he starts to pull me right along? What's a good technique? What do you do? Do you just stop and call them back, or how would you handle that?
Do I have the gentle leader on or not?
That will make a lot of difference, basically.
It will, and that's probably not going to happen if you've got the proper equipment along with you. But always, you have much better control if you have a short leash than a long leash. And so shorten the leash and have the animal sit, and then just stand and wait for him to calm, and then you can proceed.
Great. Well, we also have Effie here today, and he's been a big help. He's our Humane Society Pet of the Week, so we're happy to have him out here today too. So thank you all very much for talking about the benefits, how our pets keep us healthy, about how to walk a dog, for bringing the dog, and hopefully these tips will help you have an enjoyable walk with your pet. For Fit in 5, I'm Holly. This is Gerald, Jerry, and Tasha. Have a great day.
Thanks, Holly. All right, we're ready to start our stir fry. Our salmon is going off and baking off in the oven. So we're going to just turn on the heat here. We have a nice gas stove, so we're going to control that heat. We're at about a medium heat on this one. We're going to add a little bit of our olive oil just to coat the bottom of our pan. We're going to cover our vegetables in that as well as we toss them around a little bit. Heat that up. Remember, we're always looking for that olive oil, safflower, or canola. Those are going to be our 3 best cooking oils for our heart health. And this stir fry is going to have great vegetable variety to it. Tonight I chose carrots, which we've diced up, green onions, and of course my favorite is going to be the mushrooms. Again, as a reminder, mushrooms are going to be high in vitamin D, something that we all could use a little extra of. Many of us supplement our vitamin D. I always encourage you to try to get your nutrients throughout your food intake instead of relying on vitamins and supplements. Vitamin D is important in heart health and can also make a difference in your emotional and behavioral health as well, and it's been proven to show improvement in things like depression. So try to get that vitamin D in there. If you can't get sunlight, try to get it through your foods. Now, like I said, any kind of stir fry is going to be really nice and easy to make. It's a one-pot meal. You can choose any vegetables you want, and you can use it to complement the meal that you're making. I've chosen these vegetables tonight because they're going to be a little bit more bland. None of these are going to have outstanding flavor, and that's because we're coupling with it the salmon, which is going to be very flavorful with the pineapple juice and the rub that we chose to put on it. So we're just going to heat these up. Anytime you're making the mushrooms, we're looking for these to shrink down, to start turning into that brown color, and they're going to become a little bit softer. We don't like to see our mushrooms at this tough consistency. We like them fresh like that on a salad or maybe in a sandwich. When we're making a stir fry, we're making sure that we get it down to that lower consistency. Same with our carrots. We want to make sure they become a little bit more translucent. They're going to be softened up. We don't want our vegetables to be too crunchy in a stir fry. Other vegetables that might have gone well with this would have been celery, regular onions, even garlic in here would have added quite a bit of zing. So those would all fit in here quite well. Now you're going to see that this is going to make several portions We're looking at about 6 to 8 servings of vegetables just in this little dish. So if you divvy that out, and yet we only used about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So our per portion ratio there is very small. This is going to be a very, very low calorie side dish, and yet this is going to be very, very filling. When you add this in with our salmon, which is also one of our low fat fish with high omega-3 fatty acids, we have a very, very healthy meal, and yet this is going to be very filling and very satisfying. Okay, we're starting to see these mushrooms start to leak out their water just a little bit. We're going to keep cooking that down. Now is a great time to start planning out your garden. So if this is something that you enjoy, if you like mushrooms, if you like the carrots, green onions, start thinking about what it is that you're going to be putting in your own garden and how you can be at your best health, not only through the physical activity of gardening, but making sure your produce is as fresh as it can be. If you don't have space for your own garden, make sure you utilize the local community supported agriculture, which you can buy shares through, and have fresh produce delivered once a week. If that's not an option for you, be sure to stop at our farmers market. Now the farmers market is going to be starting a little bit earlier this year. We'll be starting on the 21st of June, so we'll have 2 Thursdays in June before kicking off the full schedule in July. Okay, you can see that these are just about ready. I like to make sure my mushrooms are fully cooked because that's my favorite vegetable. I want to make sure it's done just the way I like it. All right, so now instead of using a carbohydrate, such as a rice or another bread product, I actually can use this as the bed that the salmon is going to lay on. So this will be the base of our meal. It's going to be quite filling, yet low in calories. All right, this looks great. We'll turn off that, and we'll head back over to the counter. Okay, so we're going to put this down on our plate. And as I always say, you don't need to really limit your vegetable intake. So if you like a little more on there, that's going to be all right. The more vegetables we can get, the better. It's a very low fat, low calorie, and low carbohydrate as well if you're following a diabetic diet. Do count very small amounts of carbohydrates in our vegetables, and make sure you factor that into your diet plan. Now we're going to want to check on our salmon, and we'll be pulling that out of the oven as well. All right. You can see that we have a nice caramelized coloring going on the top of our salmon. Fish does not take long to cook through. We don't have any real internal temperatures that we have to get to with a saltwater fish. So this is a nice coloring. You can see that it's going to flake easily with a fork or spoon. It's going to break apart. Now this is a pretty large portion, so we can cut that down, add that onto our plate, and we have a perfect looking, heart healthy meal that's ready to go. Nice and easy. We did that in less than 15 minutes, and yet this is restaurant quality and ready to go. And that's it. That's our meal for tonight. We'll see you next week on What's Cooking, New Ulm.